Hey everybody, Amer back with another quick hit video in anticipation of beginning the reviews for the Revival series. I've seen feedback from the Facebook group and other places where people are talking about how, well, I never really watched the Revival, I never really got into it. Of course, there's a subset of the fandom out there that feels that, after Barbara Bain and Martin Landau left, the series wasn't worth watching. I hope that with what I've put together in the big ranking list, people are rethinking that somewhat. And I hope people think the same way with regards to the Revival, because you'll get a lot of entertainment and value, so to speak, out of watching the Revival as well. I'm just going to, as I said, do kind of like a quick hit, just kind of comparing the original and the Revival a little bit in terms of some things that are better in the original and some things that are better in the Revival. At least in my opinion. When you go through the reviews with me, hopefully you'll agree or you'll have some ideas yourself. Better in the original, I would say that definitely the stories and the scripts in general are better among the original series as an aggregate than they are in the Revival. The Revival does reuse some of the scripts, and I'll talk about that. The first few episodes were done at a point where there was a writer's strike, so they had to reuse some of the old scripts, and they changed them up a little bit, to suit a more modern audience, I suppose. But generally speaking, the original gets the nod when it comes to the overall quality of stories and scripts. The writing and the overall dialogue is also better in the original. I have pointed out that there are a few episodes in the original where there is really, really painful and repetitive dialogue. But they did a much better job with it. That's kind of part and parcel of having better stories and scripts overall, but that is one specific thing that I think you'll find. In the Revival, there are some points where the dialogue is really, really strained. Unfortunately, I feel that the producers in the Revival kind of thought that viewers are kind of either morons or goldfish and needed a lot of things to be explained to them. Rather than in the original, it was more about watching kind of the plot unfold. And a lot of things were left unsaid. They didn't have to be explicitly stated. You just kind of watched it happen. And then, if you were at least paying attention, you'd say, okay, that's what they're trying to do here. And you could follow along. Maybe that's just how things have progressed in society. Whatever. That's a discussion for another time. Also better in the original. Generally speaking, they landed the endings better in the original. In the big ranking list, I pointed out a lot of those where landings were not ended. But overall, they did do a better job with those. In the Revival, there are a lot of episodes where Jim Phelps has kind of a lame one-liner at the end of an episode, and it's kind of hard to not roll your eyes at some of them. Anyway, turning the page from that. Things that I think are better in the new series. You may think that I'm absolutely off my rocker here. I prefer the opening theme from the Revival. I have actually used it as my ringtone from time to time. I love the bass line in the Revival, and it's got more of a techno synth feel. I absolutely adore it. I think it is better than the original theme music. As kind of a follow-on to that, Jim, you'll see when he gets his missions, starting with episode 6, once the series kind of finds its feet, so to speak, after it's gone through, reusing some of the scripts, it starts with some original scripts. When Jim goes to get his instructions, there is actually a variation of the theme music, kind of slowed down and mellowed down, as he's kind of walking and finding the his actual instructions. And I love that. I love the way that it sets the tone for what's about to happen. Alongside that, Jim getting his instructions is quite different than most episodes from the original series. Starting in season 6 and 7, I found that the producers were kind of making it more that Jim would have to use spy speak and actually get his or have somebody tell him where his actual little packet of instructions are and the tape. I also like the fact, and they continue that in this. Jim has to be told where to get it. And the biggest thing to me is that the mission instructions are not left out in the open. I lamented that so much in the original series, where, they would just kind of be left on a park bench someplace where anybody could have picked it up. Or I remember there was one where Jim just kind of got it from a guy in a toll booth. There was nothing stopping him from opening up the packet and looking at what was inside. It might not have meant anything to him or her, but still, that's kind of silly. This is stuff that sometimes involves national security. You don't just leave this stuff lying around. So it's much, much, much better in the revival, and I really, really think that was great. Also, it's not just a tape. It is a little black box, a little sort of, laser disc player where Jim actually has to open it using his thumbprint and a predetermined, a 3-digit code. And then he gets the laser disc, and then he actually gets his instructions with video as well as audio. It's great. Much, much better than the original series. Final point, and it's kind of segs into the final point pretty well. The technology, obviously, this being starting in 1988, 15 years later, the technology is obviously improved by leaps and bounds at this point. So the overall production and the effects are obviously better due to that technology, including, the way Jim gets his instructions, but overall, the production value is greatly enhanced. And this manifests itself in a lot of impressive ways. The IMF doesn't have to spend so much time on preparatory tasks, such as making masks. A lot of it becomes kind of automatic. They use kind of like a computer layout when they take a picture of somebody's face. In 1988, people would have thought, oh my gosh, that technology is kind of ludicrous. In 2022, it's almost a given that we should be able to do stuff like that. Things have come a really, really long way. Also, I like the fact that learning voices is not automatic. The same kind of techniques are used as in the original series, where IMF members have to, impersonate, some of the villains or other people, and they have to learn their voices. It's not automatic. We see members actually practicing the voices and using, kind of like a voice pattern analyzer to improve their technique, which is realistic, and I really, really like that. Also, the biggest advantage of the technology and overall production is that they film in Australia. I have never been to Australia. I live in Canada. It's one of the places I would really, really love to go. Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world would just be a fantastic, trip for me. It avoids the Paramount backlot feel that we get from a lot of episodes in the original series. And of course, Australia has such wonderful and diverse terrain. And it's great in the revival series that they can simulate, the desert. They can simulate the rainforest, and they can simulate, the mountains and everything, because Australia has all of these wonderful things, which is great. I'll be starting the reviews very, very soon, but I just wanted to give this introductory hit to everybody out there just to kind of get prepared to get the ball rolling. As I mentioned, the reviews will be coming soon, so stay tuned for those. Please like this review video. Please subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications when the reviews for the revival are coming out. And please leave your comments about anything that I've done so far or anything that you feel that I should be doing in the future. Always love hearing your comments, and I've been seeing more of them and responding to them lately, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you all very much. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.